Hi, my name is Brian Burkert, and we are in the beginning stages of restoring a Model T. But this Model T is not a Ford. Can anybody guess what kind of Model T this is? I'll give you a hint. It has a 4-cylinder overhead valve engine. It has a Remy ignition and an auto light starter and generator. These names should seem familiar if you are familiar with General Motors products. This is actually a 1920 Chevrolet Model T 1-ton truck. And Daniel here, my son, is helping me film. Now this truck just came from a barn where it has been sitting since at least 1985. And judging by the look of it, it was sitting even longer than that. We are in the beginning stages of resurrection with Chevy. So it has a 4-cylinder overhead valve engine. This engine was used for a few years. It's slightly larger than the regular car engine. It has a 3-speed sliding gear transmission. Right now we're soaking it with oil so that way we can clean it. It has a mechanical brake system. The remains of that are here. Luckily we have most of the parts that we need. We will need to make new brake rods. And it has a worm drive rear axle. And of course it has wooden wheels. These are the rear wooden wheels. The front wooden wheels, thankfully those have been replaced by someone in the past. We think it's going to be a very good truck. This is a truck, they started making this model in 1918. It was the very first Chevrolet truck model. Chevrolet had been around for a few years by that point. In 1918, by that time, Chevrolet had been taken over by General Motors, and this was their competition for the Model TT Ford truck in the medium-sized or 1-ton truck market. We've done some work already by cleaning the ignition parts. We did some work on the distributor, got it to spark. We put in a more modern coil. We do have the original coil, but we used a modern one just to get it running. Many of the linkages were here, and we were able to crank over the engine, which is very lucky. It is free. We did drop the oil pan, which was all full of rust and grit from the engine sitting so long, even though it hadn't been run. Many years of hot and cold and water condensing on the inside made the oil pan very rusty, and there was a lot of sludge in there. So we cleaned all that out. There's also a little dipper tray that fits in there, and that was all full of stuff. So we're very happy that we decided to drop the oil pan, because if we had just started it without cleaning the oil pan first, we'd have a problem. Now there's Daniel showing you the Kramer governor. That is a throttle governor that these trucks had. They were governed to run at about 25 miles an hour max. The carburetor is a Zenith carburetor. It is a brass carburetor made out of brass. It's an updraft, as you can see, the rocker arms and the valve springs. We had some AC Titan spark plugs, which I'm not sure how period correct they are. We do have some neat, interesting, old-looking spark plug wires there. We'll probably have to replace them. We did get a lot of neat parts with the truck. We got original headlights, original headlight lenses. We have a hood. We have a radiator over here. We have wheels. We have wheel rims, a radiator, a hood. We have extra carburetors. Now here's a headlight. It's a very interesting lens. These are rare and hard to find parts. The truck may have shared these parts with other early Chevy cars, but we're so happy to have it because there's not many around. We also have lots of brackets for the bed. These are side brackets for the bed, and we have some remains of the original wood. This is the original wood sill, so using this we'll be able to tell how to make the bed. We weren't given too much, most of it was rotted away. But this at least gives us a foundation so we can see how the bed was sized so we can make a new wooden bed. Here you can see the early original universal joints. Very interesting. We're going to take those apart and clean them. And the idea is to make this truck run. We're not going to completely restore it. Now there's a Model A Ford transmission for comparison. This one's very similar in design.
I don't think it's going to get out of our garage.
That belongs to Mr. Mike Schellenberger, and it's a display piece here in our garage. And actually here, Daniel will pan over with the camera. We have a picture. This is what this Chevy truck will look like. That's an old copy of an old advertisement. And that's what it'll look like. So we're going to keep working, and maybe in a year or two we'll have something that'll run. And maybe in several years we'll have somewhat of a complete truck. But again, this truck is about twice the price of a Model T, so they didn't sell as many, but it seems like it was a pretty good truck, and this one has seen some use. There's the wheels. We're going to clean those up. They were probably originally painted, but we're not sure what we're going to do with them yet. Leave them weathered or paint them. There's the brand new front wheel. The steering actually still works. It's not hooked up completely, but as you can see, it's a worm gear steering in very good condition, not worn out. Luckily the truck came with a lot of linkages that we need to make it work. So we appreciate, we found some goodies here. Some stuff that gets old car people excited. We found some original oil gauges. There's already one on the truck temporarily, so for when we start the engine. Here's an original ammeter gauge. And I think these gauges were shared with other Chevrolet cars of the era. Here's an ignition switch and light switch. We have some other good linkages in here. Here's something that's really neat. We have an era accessory, which is a fancy radiator cap. We have a dog bone radiator cap with a Chevrolet motometer. And that was just an extra prize that we found in the boxes. Probably most of the trucks didn't have anything this fancy, but it's something neat to have that we can put on the truck if we want to. Okay, I think that's going to wrap it up. And we appreciate Daniel filming our truck, and hopefully over the next few years we can give you some updates as we progress in getting this old Chevy truck back on the road. Thank you.